Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. This is the dawn of ascension, and we are here to share our view of these crazy, wonky energies that we're living through right now. And we know they're really, really wonky and crazy. We are all soul family, and we have come together, and we've been together for the last year. And we have Aubrey and Susie and Gina. And we're from Canada and different areas of the United States. And we are all soul family. And today we have a topic of what is soul family? What is a soul group? And being aware of them, calling them in, and it's now time to connect with our soul family and soul group. And a lot of you are being stirred deeply, 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 and you do not understand what you're trying to do or what you're trying to connect with. And that's the energies that's stirring within us. We're looking for that cooperation, and we're looking for guidance to meet up with our soul groups. And this is what we're here to help share tools and a little bit of our own views and our opinions and some of our journey to help you find your soul group. Aubrey. Aubrey is our encyclopedia of everything that is within the universe. Aubrey, can you do a little bit explaining about soul group and soul families for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So when the universe very first began, when existence very first began, what it very first started as is essentially just a repeating pattern. So we call them fractals. So when there is a repeating pattern a pattern that repeats infinitely, it starts creating what's called a frequency. Um, so the thing is the universe started with a pattern, and then pretty soon it decided to change a pattern, and there was more than one pattern, and then there's another pattern, and then there's another pattern. And as it created more and more patterns, the patterns started learning from each other. And so as these patterns started learning from each other, they started creating a higher frequency, which started creating consciousness, which is what we are all here today. So what soul family is essentially patterns that have evolved together and learned from each other. And so when you have a group of consciousness that has been together for a very long time through all of their evolution and the changing of the way that they of their patterns and their lessons and their experiences, they become family. And so our little group here we've been together for a very long time. And you'll notice when you can even just be walking in the street and you just seem to just sort of like a person. It's often because that you have evolved, your soul has evolved alongside with theirs. And the truth is, when you go around the world, you don't actually meet anyone that you have not met before. We have all been doing this for an infinite amount of time. So even the cashier at the grocery store is a soul that you have has influenced you in some way, shape, or form. We all influence each other's fractals and patterns, and that's part of the ecosystem and beauty of us all existing together. But that's what a soul family is. Truthfully, everyone's soul family, but there are some that you are a little closer to than others.
That is a beautiful explanation. Thank you. So it reflects to even like the pattern on the shawl that you have behind your couch, how it multiplies back out. That would be a reflection also. Or the flower of life, that's a reflection of a soul group then.
Yeah, the flower of life is a fractal. That is one of the most base patterns in the entire universe. That's one of the original fractals. That just I would even say the original fractal pattern. It's we're all different mirrors of the same consciousness. And so the flower of life is the original reflection of just we're all one.
That's, oh, wow, that's really quite amazing to think about that. Sometimes that's kind of hard to wrap your head around,
Yeah.
but it really is. One of the things that, you know, we have been dealing with is, was Aubrey mentioned fractals. Well, Gina and Susie and I are like original fractals. So we go way, way back. And so we have been together and very close for a very, very long time. But yeah, because you can have original fractals and then so our souls are very, very, very old. Gina, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Um, I'm, well, we're all still learning about our soul groups and life in this world. And it's been interesting for me because I was adopted at birth and raised fairly isolated in Los Angeles, but and I've never really felt connected deeply. I haven't had children. I was married just for 3 years, but that was a lesson I needed to learn. um, and for years, I would be, wondering about my family and whatever. And then just about 5 or 6 years ago, I've found close friends that have really made me feel like it really doesn't matter who gave birth to me or, you know, and I've realized that I have so much to do in this life as I've watched other people deal with their familial issues. My daughter is crazy, my son is on drugs, or, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh God, thank God I don't have any of that. But I know that it's so that I can be clear enough to do what I'm to do in this lifetime and to help people in a clear way, even though this might not be stating something so clearly. But um, it's been a really interesting realization for me about who I am, and I'm so grateful to have found these amazing women to help with the my journey, and I'm helping with their journeys. And that's what Soul Family is all about, really, for me.
Yes, I'd like to. That was a beautiful expression of your journey. And I would like to also add the fact that you realize that you have soul family on other planets that have affected you tremendously in your work here, that you have a, soul family from, is it Ku?
Who?
Ku, and that direct link is vital for bringing information and sharing information that is so important for ascension and for raising everyone's vibrations and helping with different tools and moving along that we need to go. So yeah, I would like to add that. And also we feel like sisters. I've never had a sister. So I don't know what sisters are like, but once I met these ladies, I'm like, man, I'm in.
Yeah.
So Susie, I know you have a journey story too.
Well, actually, I'm really excited because I pulled Fairy's Oracle card before we started today. Um, I was a little bit nervous because we're just sort of starting out with these beautiful little chats, and this one was I just thought it was really sweet. He's called Miko Amuckle, and he's all about play and
Oh,
mixed
I love
blessings.
him.
Isn't he cute?
Yeah, and isn't he adorable? And if it's okay, I'll just read a little bit about him because um, I think it's all about sort of being in the moment, and that's how sort of we connect with each other and with our soul family and just being in the now. And it just talks about play and being in the now. So Miko can be foolish, silly, playful, and absurd. He is fond of goofing off and considers play to be an art form and himself a fine artist. He understands renewing the spirit and recreating the body and emotions. He knows all of us have a child within who needs to play and be cherished. He also knows we need to make mistakes so we can learn from them, which is how we get to the title of a mixed blessing. When we stop pretending to be adults for a moment, stop trying to live up to some impossible and probably boring standard, we can regain the clear, direct vision of a child. We can, like Miko, see things as they really are, and we can focus on the present moment, which is our only place of power. Here and now is where we can do things, change things, and enjoy real things instead of mere ideas and dreams. Miko reminds us that the past is past, gone forever. The future is just a dream, and now is the only time we have, moment by moment. So he wants us to welcome adventure into our life, try something you've never done before, and take some time to play before you turn into a grumpy glump or a worn out wurg. So I'm
Well,
just wondering too, being in the moment by moment and in the now. So how can we better? How could that help us?
Well, so I've been thinking a lot about the concept of the universe being a mirror of ourselves, because that's why we're soul families here helping each other. You know, the reason the reason that we exist in the first place is the universe wanted to experience itself. And so what that means is the reality that we create around us is a reflection of our own reality. And like a mirror, if you look in a mirror and you want it to smile, you don't ask the mirror to smile, you smile, and then the mirror smiles back at you. And that's what the universe is doing. And so if you want more adventure and more play in your life, the universe is going to reflect anything that you're sending to it. And it will most often reflect it through your soul family. And that's one of the lovely things about evolution. If you start smiling and playing and having adventure, then the people around you are going to reflect that, and then it will ripple through time and space and into the universe, and then everything becomes more fun.
wow, what beautiful energy I had. I did not realize that that's how that worked, but that made total sense to me about the soul family being the major reflection. Yeah, I was born into a family that I had been told was not my soul family, and the reflection was not accurate. The world would reflect something totally different than what my family reflected for me. And it was very confusing for uh, like 69 years or something like that. That was an awesome answer. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, and our families, our physical families here on Earth are often souls that we've contracted with which means that they are probably part of your soul family on some level in order to learn deep lessons. We're here to calibrate ourselves and learn how to do things and learn skill sets and find balance within our souls. And so sometimes you'll contract with a soul that you know in order to go through an abuse cycle in order to learn something about it. And there's a lot of pain that has happened in this world, but if you come from a higher perspective and recognize that you chose into it in order to learn balance in yourself, and then actually use that knowledge to then find the balance in yourself, then you don't have to continue to experience it. It's like, just because the universe is reflecting stuff like that does not necessarily mean that you're bad. It's you chose that to reflect that in order for you to find your own inner light.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what, once I discovered to stand in my own truth, then nothing else mattered, nothing else really cared. My truth, and I found that my truth cooperated with other truths. And as long as as I stood there, and that was good. I like that. It took a long time to understand that, and that's a huge, huge tool right there that you just expressed when it comes to, yeah, it's like getting an bird's eye view, right? Kind of, and just understand that, don't take it personal. That was one of my things, my biggest tools. I'm a Willie Nelson fan because I'm that age. And his first movie, he was going out across Siberia and he was whistling and it was blizzarding and someone ran across him and said, "How can you be so happy?" He goes, "Oh, you just don't take life personal." And I'm like, whoa, don't take it personal. Don't let it crush you. Try and just view it as a mirror. Don't take it personal.
Right, and then it's like it's very common for humans and everybody truthfully to one of the original wounding is it's a separation from source and feeling like you're separate and feeling like you're therefore not worthy of being part of the one. And ultimately all trauma goes back to that wound of feeling unworthy to exist. And if you do exist, guess what? You're supposed to. And you're an integral part of the universe. The universe doesn't exist without every single part of itself. And so like not taking it personal is really about not taking reflections as a character defect and just like not letting it ping on your worthiness wound. And you don't, it's easier said than done. But
Yeah, you're right. That was a 35-year-old movie.
Gina, you're muted.
Yeah.
Susie had a bit of an echo, so I tried muting to see if that would help.
Mm.
It did a bit. Anyway, oh, it's sometimes it's difficult to, now I lost my train of thought, but it with the programming that's been going on
Mm.
has really enforced that feeling of separation.
Mhm.
Is what I wanted to bring up. And it's really, we need to start to learn to look beyond what's being fed to us and really learn to see who we are. You know, who is that person in the mirror versus what are you being told you are or who you're being told you are, because it's been drilled in us separation and isolation for so long that we
Right.
really have to learn to move past that.
And that's a lot about staying in your heart. I mean, we talked last episode a little bit about our heart structure, and I think we're probably going to talk about it every single episode because that is actually the key to all of it. It's staying in your heart because your mind does have like I don't care who you you have some level of programming that you have programmed into yourself that you've allowed others to program into you, and it's all about belief systems. But your heart knows what's true. Your heart knows what is like how it should be. And so the more that we connect with our heart and follow our heart and lead with our heart and sit in our heart and play with our heart and just all of the things with our heart, the more that your energy is just going to just be heart-based, and it will start just automatically clearing all of the programming and belief systems that are keeping you feeling separate.
That's tremendous. So then what you're saying is the more we set into our heart, the more programming is released. And this includes bombardment from different energies, tech energies, and everything.
Everything.
It's just everything. We now have the power to just sit in our heart and be separate and be whole and separate from the negative energies. Then correct.
You are in your heart, the more that you start recognizing that you're not separate from anything. And so what happens is you then automatically transmute the negative energies. Because once they reach your frequency, then they learn, just like we talked about, the soul family fractals, all energy learns from each other. And so when you're heart-based and you learn to just love and love and love and love, then when the pattern of negative energy meets that love, it learns to love. And it transmutes automatically. You don't have to do anything. So you don't have to protect from it. You don't have to get it away from you. You simply stay in your heart, and it transforms the entire universe around you.
So then the biggest thing for us is just to reset our intention to make sure that we always are grounding into our heart and being into our heart. And whenever we do that, then we are protected and we protect our intuition so that we know when we're going off base, we go, okay, I'm going to move back over here a little bit.
But keep in mind, that means you have to love yourself. It means you have to, you get to.
Oh, that's a big lesson. Oh my goodness.
You get
I
to-
have,
You're leading with your heart. You lead first to love yourself.
yeah. Yeah, that was a tough one. I was not grown up with a lot of hugs or a lot of affection, and I had to learn to just give myself the biggest hugs. If I wanted a hug, I gave myself a hug. If I wanted to say, "Thank you, Arlene, you're so good," I did it. You just have to. I just got to the point where if someone else wasn't going to give it to me, I was, because I felt like I wanted to. We all have that permission, and it sounds like it's all of our destinies to do it anyway.
It is. It happens eventually.
So,
You get
yeah,
any experience in all of existence. And so if you want to choose suffering, if you want to choose not to love yourself, then you get to, because it's your choice.
yep, yep. Oh, that's wonderful. That's that's a really big piece to try and whittle together sometimes. That's excellent. Thank you. Wow. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add to Soul Family or Soul Group, calling them in? Um, oh, I have one thing to say. I had I had a little antique. I had a booth in the little local antique store for about 4 years, and I was part of the original group that came in, and we liked each other. All of us that came in, we really, when everyone first came in, I knew it was it was a soul group because everyone just liked each other. You could just stand next to one of them and you'd feel the most wonderful energy. It felt yummy. The music was always awesome. People would come in that store just to wander through because it felt so good. So the point I'm trying to make is yes, you can feel it when a soul, and that was the first time I really experienced that experience, and I knew I was feeling it, but I didn't know what it was until way a long time ago. So I'm saying this to help someone identify it maybe a little bit sooner than I did, that when you just feel really comfortable with someone and you're not used to that feeling of that being comfortable, that is your soul group. Those are your peeps. Those are the ones that are helping you. And you might be learning some more lessons. It's not all smooth silk and roses, but it sure feels good when it's on the right track.
Yes, it does.
Does anyone else have anything else that they would like to add to our soul group discussion today?
Well, growing up the way I did, my father was the type of person, he loved to fix everything that I did growing up. I would write a essay for class, for school, and he would reread it and fix it. And doing science projects, he would come up with these paleontology exhibit, and then he'd buy fossils for me and help me set up the boards, and it's like he would do everything for me. It took a while when I got out on my own for me to learn that I could stand on my own 2 feet. So then I did a really good job of doing that, became a nurse, was a charge nurse very quickly when I graduated and had my first job and progressed from there. But then my father passed or died. And one day I ran into an old boyfriend of mine, and after we went out to dinner, I heard very loudly that I was going to be his wife. Well, his birthday was the same as my father's. Yeah. I had to learn lessons. And after 3 years of being married to him, I was the whip dog in the cage who couldn't leave. And so we went to therapy together, and I had my therapist, he had his therapist, who was a dyke. No offense to anybody who's a dyke, but if you're trying to do marriage relationship with a male and a female, it's not that helpful. And then we had our therapist. None of those were very useful. And after I took a month off and went to live with a friend and sent my husband a letter saying, let's date, let's put some good stuff in the bank and see what happens. He called me once during that month to ask me something that he needed to know. And at the end of the month, we went to breakfast and he begged me to come back. And I went, why? No. And that's when I truly became myself and let go of that lesson. So sometimes we have soul families that are there to teach us things that we need to know. And I recognize that cage now. I ain't going back in.
There's times that our souls have even contracted to be the abuser for members of our soul family in order to help them learn a lesson. And there's lessons from being the perpetrator as well as the victim in any situation. And the thing is those are two sides of the same coin that come down to you chose into every situation and standing in your own empowerment and your own light. It hurts just as bad to be the perpetrator as the victim. And the more that you realize that we're choosing into all of this in order to find balance, then that's when you can choose into finding balance. And you can just wrap up those lessons and put them back in a book and put them back on the shelf. And that was a chapter, and it was a chapter that's part of you, and you wouldn't be who you are without those chapters, but the book can be finished. You can move on to the next chapter.
Exactly. It was so wonderful to move on. And he and I are still friends. Well, I haven't spoken with him in a number of years, but I hold no animosity, or it was just, that's what needed to happen. And it was time to move on to something else in my life and his life. So, yeah. Anyway.
Moving on, it's just as hard. It's just as much of a lesson to learn to move on as it is to stand in your power. Sometimes it's like that tug of war rope, you tug, and you go, nah, I think it's time. Release that thing and let's just go do something else.
Well, and the going and doing something else is a very, very important part of the process, because if you release something, but then still kind of stand there, you're not actually releasing it. And there's that in between when you don't have anything to do instead, you still have, that's not the process isn't complete. You do have to actually move on and find something new to do and find which game do you want to play next? Because truthfully, all we're ever doing is choosing which games that we're playing. And you can play the suffering game, you can play the control game, you can play we have an infinite amount of games that you can play, and you can choose any one you want. And so when you stop playing a game like control or victim, you do have to choose which game you're playing instead. Otherwise, you continue to play that game. Fear game.
Yeah. So then you can play the heart game. I'm gonna ground in my heart. Now we're doing the heart game. Flow in cooperation.
Exactly.
Well, ladies, I think this has been a very, very good conversation. I think it's going to help some viewers with a expand their consciousness, and I know someone's going to get a lot of information out of this. And we encourage anyone to please write in our comments something you would like to say, something you would like to hear. If you have a topic that you would like to hear from us, please include that in the comments below, and we'll be good about picking them up, because this is a big topic and a big subject, and it's going to be around for a long time. So thank you, Aubrey, Susie, and Gina, for joining us in our second show of the Dawn of Ascension. I'm Arlene, and I've been our host for today. And thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. And we will be posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings, because we're the Dawn of Ascension morning show. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.